Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Susan Lopresti Wellness, Mind, Body, and Soul, the podcast where we explore the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to a woman's life, her health, and all aspects of navigating the midlife landscape. I'm your host, Susan Lopresti, and today I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Heather Florio, and I just want to give you a little bit of information about Heather. She is the CEO and second generation owner of Desert Harvest. She is at the forefront of developing natural origin, scientifically proven super strength aloe vera supplements, sexual and pelvic health products that effectively support individuals dealing with interstitial cystitis, and I hope I said that correctly. Heather can correct me if I'm wrong, and other sexual health, bladder, pelvic, and also other women's issues. Heather was named one of the top 50 women in wellness by Authority magazine and was featured in Forbes magazine in 2022 as a top woman in business. For nearly 30 years, Desert Harvest has been an advocate for change in women's health care through medical research and product innovation. Heather's expertise and passion are rooted in helping to educate and develop solutions for these chronic and debilitating issues and support the underrepresented suffering from these symptoms. So without further ado, Heather, welcome to my podcast. I am so happy that you decided to join, and I just want to jump right in with you.
Thanks for having me, Susan.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I'm excited. I feel that this is a topic that really needs to be spoken about because I have a feeling that there are a lot of women out there who have pelvic floor dysfunction or issues with pelvic floor, and it could be a little bit of an embarrassing subject to talk about. So I want to put it out there. So let's start by you telling us what exactly is pelvic floor dysfunction.
So pelvic floor dysfunction comes with a myriad of symptoms. Your pelvic floor is your hammock to everything in your body. It's literally holding everything up. So when you think in the sense of pelvic floor dysfunction, this is usually in issues in which the muscles are not strong enough, they're not toned, they're not acting as that supportive hammock that they're supposed to. And that is in where we term the term pelvic floor dysfunction. And this can come with a myriad of symptoms, especially for women, because we have so much in our hammock, really. And so as a result, we can be dealing with a variety of different conditions that men don't necessarily have to deal with, endometriosis, uterine fibroids, PCOS, and then the resulting after effects of menopause and dealing with the lack of toning in the musculature. And so as a result, there is a lifetime of things that happen within our pelvic floor, whether it's giving birth, impacts from traumas, all different kinds of things. They can really be that overall encompassing term of pelvic floor dysfunction.
So what organs actually sit in the pelvic floor?
So you've got your musculature, you've got your hips, flexors, and then of course organ wise, you're talking about your uterus, your urethra, your bladder, your colon, your kidney. There's so much in complexity that we're talking about ovaries. The complexity of all of our systems sit really inside this hammock that is holding all of this up. So this is where you see things like pelvic organ prolapse, such as the bladder, the uterus, or other things literally falling out of the vagina as a result of pelvic floor dysfunction.
So what would be some symptoms, like minor symptoms, where a woman would start to notice that something is going amiss in some way? What would be like little signs initially?
So for many women, the two signs that come up the most, and that we as women typically just deal with and shouldn't, are one, pelvic pain, and two, urinary incontinence and leakage. And for a variety of reasons, that this can happen in the complexity. But these are the two things that we see most often. And many times we think the urinary leakage is just normal part of aging. It is not. It means that you are experiencing some type of pelvic floor dysfunction and need to get to a pelvic PT to look into your symptoms.
Right. So interstitial cystitis, did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did. Tongue twister.
Talk about that. What is it exactly?
So interstitial cystitis, there's twofold here. So you have interstitial cystitis and you have bladder pain syndrome. Sometimes these terms overlap, but these are really two distinct conditions. Interstitial cystitis is, imagine a chronic UTI, the most painful UTI you've ever had that never goes away. Frequency, burning, pain, complete discomfort, and waking up in the night, nocturia, having to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. That is interstitial cystitis, and we don't understand the etiology of what causes it, but we know that it affects, especially our biggest demographic, is postmenopausal women. But then we see all the way as young as 5 and as old as 95. So the range is not specific in interstitial cystitis. However, we are looking, because interstitial cystitis is a diagnosis of exclusion. So this literally means that we're going to go through the myriad of tests, and when we can't figure out that there's anything else medically wrong with you, we're going to say you have interstitial cystitis. And that can mean that the inside of your bladder looks completely normal. This is in the United States alone. In Europe, you have to be diagnosed via cystoscopy and have true bladder wall impact. And this can look like things from lesions, a very red and inflamed bladder. And this is usually some type of compromising of the urothelial cell layer of the bladder. And this is kind of the protective coating inside your bladder as urine passes through.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, in an interstitial cystitis patient, this layer has been damaged, and or missing the gag layer. And as a result, you can imagine anything that's passing through there, especially if it's acidic, is like battery acid on your
Oh,
bladder.
yeah.
And so that's really interstitial cystitis. Whereas bladder pain syndrome, they're looking at dealing with these as if they are two completely different diagnoses, but we're not there yet. In a recent study, they were able to phenotype out many of the people that were misdiagnosed with interstitial cystitis. In the United States, it's estimated by the Interstitial Cystitis Association, the nonprofit organization, that there's roughly 8 to 12 million men and women, predominantly women, that have interstitial cystitis. And if we look at the etiology, because we don't know the etiology, what causes this, they're trying to subtype out other people that might not necessarily have interstitial cystitis. And in a recent study that was done at UCLA, they were actually able to use machine learning AI to be able to determine 3 distinct categories, in which one was just myofascial pain. So which that means your pelvic floor dysfunction. And 88% of that group resolved with pelvic floor physical therapy. And then you have kind of a neuralgia type component. This could be nerve pain coming from anywhere else in your body. When you think of the whole musculoskeletal system within the body, everything is interconnected. For instance, when we work with the UK football teams, and anytime that they have an injury anywhere in their body, not just within their pelvis, they are prescribed pelvic floor physical therapy because it gets them out onto the field 3 times faster than if they had not had pelvic floor physical therapy. So that neuralgia type component, think about that being anywhere in your body and radiating pain. And then that last group was kind of the bladder centric group. All of their pain was coming directly from their bladder. And you know that then is the true interstitial cystitis group.
Now, so it's not just for perimenopause or menopausal, like you said, children could have these symptoms.
Yes, it's theorized that it could be autoimmune related. It could predominantly affect postmenopausal women more just because of the impact. When you think of when you're in menopause, you're having the thinning of your vaginal,
Yes.
your tissues, your musculature, same in your pelvic floor. You're having a reduction in toning. You're having a reduction in the strength of your bladder, and the lining of your bladder can be impacted. Your urethra can be impacted. So I think that's why we see more menopausal women affected by this, because they've already got a weakness, a pre-dispensed. And there is some theory, but this has not been medically proven, is that this might be an autoimmune disorder because with your immune system actually attacking your bladder wall. But they have not been able to officially determine that because, again, we don't know the etiology. We have very muddied water with misdiagnosis. But we do know that group, once they have that impact happen, that it can definitely have that larger impact in that menopausal community.
Us menopausal women, we're the lucky ones.
Yes.
Lucky
I know
us.
that's where this is where so much knowledge is power these days. Where there's so much innovation going on in the world of menopause. We're trying to educate women more and more and more on the importance of hormone replacement therapy to help the reduction in that loss of muscle mass, the importance of doing weight training in any way, shape, or form that you can do. Maybe it be yoga, just weight training. Interestingly enough, I was just at a menopause event in New York City. It was interesting because they had one of the top orthopedists in the country who specializes in menopause related orthopedics. And she showed the difference between of osteoporosis of let's just say the leg. I think in this case it was the leg bone, and we were specifically looking down, and you could just see it black and it wasting away. And then you could see a menopausal woman who did strength training, and hers looked as great as if she was much younger. And that was because she didn't have that wasting away of her toning within her bones and her musculature. And I think that it's critical to mention the importance of looking into. We've been a generation that have been scared away from hormone replacement therapy. The education has changed, the research has changed. We know that the Women's Health Initiative that started in 1995 and was abruptly stopped in 2002 We know that research has been debunked. We know that it was not good research. And we have new research in 2019 showing the importance of hormone replacement therapy for women, whether it be, to address the different symptoms. And even right now, there are amazing clinicians out there advocating and the importance of even having access to testosterone, which women can't get right now unless it's off label in other ways, it compounded at pharmacies, other things like that, because the testosterone treatments that are out there are only approved for men, but yet women need it for sexual function. When we start to experience sexual dysfunction, that is a drop in our testosterone. We have that hormone, we need that hormone. And so to be able to bring that up, and in the same time, utilizing things like estrogen, progesterone, keeping that up can help, along with exercise and diet, can help to maintain the muscle toning anywhere in your body, including your pelvic floor.
So important, so important. My own experience in my late 40s, I was going through all kinds of issues. I mean, I don't want to, get into the whole thing, but I went to a functional medicine doctor and she put me on a diet as far as food went, and bioidentical hormones saved my life, literally. It was a game changer for me. And I'm so grateful that I had the wherewithal to go and really seek out, because conventional doctors were basically telling me that it's very normal for a woman your age to be feeling everything that you are feeling. And I was like, I just can't accept that, because I was about 44 years old. So are you telling me that from this point forward, I'm going downhill and going to decline? And I just started doing a lot of research, and I found a fabulous doctor in the city. And I honestly feel like she saved my life. And, I still see her. I go to her
Good for you.
regularly. And she
Good for
was
you.
life-changing for me. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Heather, I want to get into, because aloe vera is really the basis of a lot of your company, more or less, probably almost all of it. So talk to me about the healing properties of aloe vera for sexual health, for pelvic floor health, and just share your products and just take it away.
Yeah, definitely. So our keystone product that started our company was for the bladder disorder, interstitial cystitis. It's called SSAV. And we literally follow this all the way from field to bottle. It is what started our company. In our double-blind placebo-controlled studies, we have an 87.5% response rate of some or complete relief of all interstitial cystitis symptoms with just taking our capsules. And that is part of how we process this. So this isn't what you'd find in the health food stores. What you find in the health food stores, things like that, when you see aloe veras on the shelf, they're meant as short-term digestive aids. Aloe vera is full of very dense amounts of fiber, but it's also filled with something called anthraquinones. They're latex chemicals naturally in aloe vera that act as an irritant, as a spasmodic to the colon. And they're great for short-term use. They are not good for long-term use and in high doses. Long-term, they can be proven to be carcinogenic to the colon, cause liver damage, kidney damage. And so if you ever open up an aloe leaf, or if you have a plant in your kitchen,
Yes,
which
I
so many
do.
people do, yeah, and you open it up, you'll see the gel. And then right below the gel is a slimy, thin yellow layer.
Yes.
That is the anthraquinones down by the rind. And so most people, you'll see things like inner leaf gel. That means that they have just scraped above the anthraquinones to get as little as possible. Or you will see that they process the whole leaf to make it a serious fiber-filled, anthraquinone-filled digestive aid. And so those are really the two typical what you see in the stores. What Desert Harvest does is we literally follow it all the way from field to bottle. It is very important that we are maximizing nutrient content, The minute you cut a leaf off of an aloe vera plant, malic acid begins to eat away at the nutrients. So within 6 to 8 hours, all of the nutrients are dead in an aloe plant, and you just have really expensive water at that point. And that is because aloe vera is 98.7% water. And so it is one of those things. To give you an idea, one of our 180 capsule bottles of our super strength aloe vera that's used for interstitial cystitis, it takes roughly 89 full grown, almost like 4-foot aloe barbadendis miller leaves to make one bottle. And that is because we are very important. The minute we cut those leaves off, within 20 minutes, we're in production preserving the nutrients. And then we utilize a unique patented process to extract all of the anthraquinones, all of the insoluble fiber. And then we use a freeze drying process to be able to not utilize heat, which can damage those active nutrients. And then we just put it into a vegan pullium-based capsule that's that we have been using for years, and we don't add anything except for a little bit of calcium to help raise the pH to make it as alkaline as possible. And so that is our keystone product that is currently undergoing FDA drug trials at Wake Forest University right now. And so we're excited about that new adventure for us, but that is the product we have been making for over 31 years. And then throughout the years, we have added to our product line as pelvic floor physical therapy, as sexual health grew as really a discipline versus a taboo thing behind closed doors. We began to make products, and we kind of grew with the pelvic floor physical therapy field as a result, and started creating. We have Aloe Glide. This is an FDA cleared medical device as a sexual lubricant, but also a vaginal moisturizer. So this is all natural. Even our preservatives are aspen bark, radish root, and literally can just be inserted regularly, just to help keep those vaginal tissues healthy, because aloe vera acts as a carrier and helps also push your own moisture up, and help you make your own moisture. One of the most important things about anything that goes inside the vagina is yes, pH. It's one of the biggest things we go to. It's an acidic environment. It should be the ideal vaginal pH is about 4.5. If you put an alkaline product in there, you're damaging your vaginal biome, whether it be like sperm is alkaline, soaps are alkaline. So you really have to think about what you're putting in there. But also the most important thing is osmolality. And this is how the fluid flows in and out of your epithelial cell layer of your vaginal wall. This is your protective barrier to bacteria, fungal infections, STIs. And if you add products that are not isoosmolar to your biome, then it slowly begins to dry out and your epithelial cell layer literally just falls out. And you've just lost your barrier of protection. And just to give you an idea, there was a study done by the World Health Organization in 2016. And the ideal vaginal osmolality is 290. The World Health Organization did a study for third world country sex workers, trying to figure out how to get rid of infections and help preventative for infections. And this was the first study ever done that was related to osmolality and really looked at it. So to give you an idea, 290 is the ideal. You only want to be plus or minus 80 points on that scale. Most of the lubricants that you will find in the stores on the market, I will not name names, but you probably know some of those big brands.
Yeah.
9,000, 10,000, 2,000. Crazy numbers. So when you're utilizing these products and thinking that they are safe for your vaginal biome, they are not. So that is one of the biggest things that I try to point out. And then we have an entire host. We have an entire supplement line with a little bit of our aloe vera added to each one of our supplements. We have our Relivium, which actually was developed for cancer patients undergoing radiation treatments. It has 4% lidocaine. patented blend of plant botanicals. It was developed for hard to treat, like vaginal, anal cancers. But it's also can be utilized on a regular basis to get past pain barriers for treatment, for sex. It can be utilized just right on the vestibule in combination with the aloe glide to get past pain barriers, whether we're talking about dilator work, wand work, whether we're talking about sex itself. And mind you, it does not desensitize. It actually just extends a man's erection when you're talking about lidocaine. So very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have that. Plus we have the pelvic wands, which are, you're going to see, you can see these on our website. I wish I had brought some, but they are literally utilized to help get into trigger points, either internally or externally. Because when you think about the pelvic floor muscles, in most cases, we think, oh, I'm just going to go do my Kegels and I'll be great.
Right.
And in most cases, that may not be the best thing to start doing. And this is why it's very important to visit a pelvic PT to assess your musculature, because many women are actually hypertonic. So imagine a really tight dish rag that's been really, really tightened. This could be your pelvic floor, and this is called a hypertonic pelvic floor. And so when that happens, if you start doing Kegels, you're just going to make things worse.
Right.
And so what you need to do is to be able to release those muscles. And then you do Kegel type strengthening exercises to strengthen your pelvic floor. And this goes the same thing for yoga in a lot of cases, because yoga in a lot of cases is pelvic floor at its pelvic floor physical therapy at its base. And so when you're doing a lot of exercises within pelvic floor, think about it. You always have one part of your body that's relaxed and a part of your body that is engaged. And so same thing when you think about your pelvic floor, but you need to be able to release it. And that's where the Desert Harvest Easy Magic Therawands come into place, because you can use those internally, either vaginally or anally, to access the different muscles and to help be able to massage them internally to help release them. And then you can also do the same thing externally on the abdomen. Think of your true core. That is all part of engaging with your pelvic floor. And so you can help with releasing these muscles to help with further engagement within your pelvic floor.
So, so I want to purchase one of those things. How do you know that you're doing it the right way? Like, could you be doing something that's making matters worse, or?
Yeah, so you almost have to think about it like a clock. And we actually send documentation with the pelvic wands that kind of describe how to hit your different musculature at different points. And you never want to feel extreme pain. If you do, you need to back off. And this is why, again, engaging with a pelvic floor therapist, at least to start, to help review your musculature. They're really going to do that internal assessment. They're really going to look at your muscles and know the engagement or disengagement of your muscles. But the other thing is, and I actually did bring a copy of this, is my book. I co-wrote this with a doctor at Duke University, a clinician at Dr. Duke University. It's called The Musculoskeletal Mystery: How to Solve Your Pelvic Floor Symptoms.
Oh.
And this can really be an at-home guide. This is going to guide you through the entire process of pelvic floor physical therapy, including exercises. It guides you through how to talk to a variety of different clinicians, because when you think about it as a woman, you really need to engage all the different facets, especially when you're thinking of we need to think of our body as a whole. And so whether you're engaging your mind, whether you're engaging your gut with a gastroenterologist, thinking your heart health with a cardiologist, how to engage all of the pieces of your body for true overall health. And so really this can be that guide to help guide you through that.
Is it available on Amazon?
It is. It's
Okay.
available on the Desert Harvest website or on Amazon.
Okay.
The It's a tongue twister. So
Yes.
yes, the musculoskeletal system, how to solve your pelvic floor symptoms.
Okay, so I will put
Yes.
that in the show notes along with your website so that my listeners could go right there and purchase it or go to Amazon. So you did touch on the personal care products. So I think we're good with that, but I wanted to go back to pelvic floor therapists. Are they utilizing your products? A lot of therapists out there?
Yes, a
Yes.
majority of them in the United States are utilizing them in practice or recommending them to their patients. We are very lacking in pelvic floor physical therapists, just FYI. We roughly maybe have between 1,200 and 1,500 in the United States in totality. And so as this field grows, it's so important for so many different things that we need so many more pelvic floor physical therapists. I always am advocating, if you're in school for physical therapy, consider pelvic floor as your discipline,
Yeah.
because almost every woman needs it at some point in her life. One of the things, like for instance in the UK, then the national health system, when you are pregnant and you go into the center and for your first OB appointment, there's an entire myriad of professionals there. So you go boop, boop, boop from one to one, whether it's a nutritionist, a lactation specialist, a pelvic floor physical therapist. Because if you're having any type of surgery that is related to your pelvic region, it is one of the best things that you can do if you're going to give birth, is to have pelvic floor physical therapy, because you need a strong pelvic floor to help you recover and recover faster. And so it's very, very critical that women have this as part of their natal care, and pre, during, post. They should really be focusing on their pelvic floor, because think about how much trauma happens during that point.
Yes.
And same thing if you're having any kind of pelvic surgery, whether it's gastrointestinal, whether it's related to a hysterectomy, things like that. It's so important, because this is where pelvic organ prolapse comes in many times. Imagine you take your uterus away, you've got this giant hole now in your spot. Your body has to adjust and become accustomed. Well, a lot of the times what can happen is there can be a bladder prolapse as a result of this, because if your pelvic floor isn't strong, it's got this empty space, and what do I do with this? And a lot of the times it can just kind of droop out. And many times, even after giving birth, women experience uterine prolapse and their uterus, and you just see this thing like hanging out of your vagina, and it's the scariest thing in the world.
I would imagine it is.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, what is this?
Yeah.
And so this is where it's very critical to address your pelvic floor in all stages of life as a woman.
You know, I'm thinking you were saying about a woman who is pregnant. So 31 years ago, when I had a baby, I had one. Um, During the whole time that I was pregnant, we never spoke about pelvic floor, not once. It was an in and out visit. And after I gave birth, I think you go back like I don't know, a couple of weeks after you give birth to be checked out, or maybe the following week, whatever it was. I don't remember the time frame. But my doctor did say then, she said, you should start doing some Kegels, but she didn't tell me why. We didn't get into it. And I was thinking when I walked out of there, oh yeah, I have time to do Kegels right now,
Yeah.
But if she would have, and I guess it wasn't a topic 31 years ago like it is today, but if she would have sat me down to really explain why it's important to do Kegels, I may have paid more attention to it, but she didn't even tell me why I should be. She just said that I should be. And I was overwhelmed with everything, and I just walked away like, okay, and that was the end of it. So, And it's so interesting how in other countries, healthcare is so different than it is here in the United States.
Yeah, we're still fighting for it here. I mean, to make it a part of the maternal care process. There's amazing things going on and women clinicians advocating for this, but we can't seem to affect change. You know, you talk about going into menopause and I'm 45, I'm right there right now, going on 46. And you can go into your clinician very similar to even pelvic floor physical therapy, and you can immediately be dismissed and just told, it's part of being a woman. It's part of, and this happens all the way through our journey as women. We're taught to suffer. We're taught to just deal. And especially here in the United States, where we are a first world country that could be at the top, and instead we choose, in a lot of cases, our systems are broken. And so when we talk about a socialized medicine program where we can institute this and create, because in the sense we're changing the overall health outcomes for the future and reducing the burden of socialized medicine, the burden of a future healthcare cost, because we're doing preventative care.
Yes.
We're a capitalistic medicine system,
Yes.
and we are very much like, what can we do, how much? And this is the reason why so many women's health conditions have not been taken care of, have not been dealt with, because we weren't even included in healthcare studies until 1993. So as a result, as women, we are just taught to suffer, and we have not been researched enough, whether it's menopause, whether it's endometriosis, uterine fibroids, take your pick. We are over 100 years behind on healthcare research for women, and we have a lot of catching up to do. And with our traditional and current healthcare system, it's still currently stymied. Whereas in other parts of the world, Europe, UK, they're advancing this. They're advancing this for women, changing what women have access to and educating them on what they should and shouldn't have, whether it's through their natal journey, whether it's through their menopause journey. They're guiding them through it, and we're lacking here in the United States in doing that for women.
It's not health care. It should be called sick care, because
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to say on that note as well is, so I talked about my functional medicine doctor who actually healed me or put me on the right path to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, your insurance does not cover a functional medicine doctor. So you have to be able to afford to go see a functional medicine doctor and pay out of pocket. And by the time you pay the doctor's fee and whatever supplements and bioidentical hormones, which is also not covered, you're looking at like an $800 to $1,000 bill, which most people can't afford to do that, and then do it a couple of times a year, because you just don't go once a year, you go. And it's so disheartening that it's right there, but yet we can't, so many women can't access it because of the financial part of it. And it's just like, are we really living in the greatest country in the world? I really don't think so.
It's very, very, very questionable. I mean, the
Yeah.
fact that we sit in a society where most of these clinicians don't even know about the new HRT research. You can still go to your clinician and say, I think I'm in menopause. I think I need hormone replacement therapy. And they're going to be like, it's just menopause. You just, it's just natural part of aging. You're still going to get that in a lot of cases.
I was
And the
getting it.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what
And
I
I
was
mean,
being told. I couldn't
and you
accept
had to
that.
think. Yeah, you had to seek elsewhere. The great news is there are amazing women in this country looking for ways around this. For instance, I recommend a lot of people to a website called My Alloy, ALLOY. And that is because they actually you can actually go onto their platform. put in your health history, because there is no test that says, here, let me go get a hormone test and see if you're in menopause, because as a woman, our hormones are like this
Yeah.
every 2 seconds, and it's not possible. We're all over the place, and so there's no like definitive test to go and say, hey, you're in menopause. And instead, we address the symptoms and we look at the symptoms. And keeping a log of symptoms is great, because then you can go to sites like My Alloy. A clinician will review your entire chart. It's completely virtual, and then they will recommend. So, for instance, I utilize this site. $49 for the initial assessment and 3 months of medication.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to put that in the show notes as well, so women
Yeah.
could go and check that out. Wow, that's incredible. So, Heather, any final thoughts that you want to leave my audience with, or the suggestion, or
Just probably advocating, as women, that's the only way that we are truly going to get the care that we deserve. If you are dismissed by a clinician, find another one. Or go and bring the evidence, because it exists. Make sure that you're not Dr. Googling. Make sure that you're looking at true, like the NIH. When you're looking at true medical research and you bring it to your doctor and it says, this says I could have hormone replacement therapy because I don't experience blood clotting or other issues or things like that. Please consider this for me. I don't want to suffer. You are your own best advocate. No matter where the stage is in your journey, if you're a pregnant woman and you are getting ready to potentially give birth in the near future, ask your doctor for pelvic floor physical therapy. You are your own best advocate, and that I cannot say that enough. And you can demand what you deserve.
I love it. Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much. So for my listeners, I will put all of Heather's information, the name of her company. You could go on, check out all her products, and I'll have her website and all of that. Heather, thank you again for joining me here today. I appreciate you. I'm sure that my listeners are going to take a lot of this information to heart, and it's what we need to hear. So thank you so very much for being here.
Thank you, Susan, for letting me put it out there.
Yes.